bath. Oh, no, after, after a few minutes with each one. I need to just relax. Oh, no, hang on. And you don't give yourself to anything. So you're getting tighter and tighter and more wound up. Of course, what you've got to do is, yes, you do have to relax. And you have to sink down. You have to acknowledge what sort of state you're in and make a clear commitment to a particular course of mind training in that context. So there's nothing wrong with commitment. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's highly desirable as part of the process of the maturing of the liberation of the heart. I've certainly have seen that over the years. People who've really given themselves to a particular course of practice or to a particular project. You can see them expanding through that. They don't narrow. It looks as though to some people that might seem that they're very narrow. Actually, they're not. They're becoming more and more expansive through that commitment. The next teaching that the Buddha gives that is conducive to the liberation of the heart is it's very hard to put this into in a few words. It's called talking the Dharma, talking the truth. The Buddha placed great store on this. He said to his disciples, when you're together, you do one of two things. You either keep the noble silence, you sit in deep silence, the silence not just of the tongue but of the mind as well, or you talk Dhamma, Dhammakatha, it's called in Pali, which can be described as a deep, searching exploration of the truth. So in a way, this is taking us back into the sort of Kalyana Mitrata territory, if you like, meeting to explore the nature of things very, very deeply. Not in theory, although theory has a place, not just in abstract theory, but reality in relation to your life, Dharma in relation to your life. This is what our Dharma study groups that you might have heard of really should be about. A really authentic meeting, everybody turning up, wanting to discover the truth of things. This is a very powerful Buddhist practice. One of the things it starts to undo and explode is what are known as miccha ditthis, wrong and limiting views, false views about the nature of things, habitual, usually unconscious opinions about life that are very deeply held, but which actually form us into a very limited and defined shape. It can be, really exciting being in a really good Dharma study group when you're having this deep discussion, and also a bit scary when you find your cherished opinions that you've never really analysed exploding. It can also there can also be a tremendous sense of ecstasy and discovery as you start breaking into new dimensions of understanding, even of insight. So that quality of communication needs to be there. The next teaching that the Buddha gives for the liberation of the heart is virya. Virya. This is effort or energy. I'm going to look at, he particularly means by this meditation in the sense of the continuous stream of skillful, creative, expansive states of mind, and the turning away from unskillful, limiting, bounded, reactive states of mind. Whether you're sitting in meditation or whether you're, walking, talking with people, whether you're working, this stream of higher consciousness, it's energy. Much better to think of it of energy. Of course, so in other words, one of the things that's going on as you go deeper into your Buddhist practice, as you have more of the taste of liberation, more of a sense of your heart becoming liberated, it's going to release a lot of energy. It's going to release a lot of flowing energy which you can direct more fully into your life and into your Buddhist practice. There are times when you're practicing the Dharma, if you maybe even if you haven't been doing it for a very long time, where you can just feel ecstatic, with that energy. It can just arise at any time. It's very joyful, very flowing. It's darkeny energy, if you like. It takes you outside of yourself. I think one of the things in relation to this is the Padmavajra meditation. I sometimes think it's better to think of Padmavajra meditation as the development, if you like, of loving energy. I know that might sound terribly new agey, but loving energy, or love energy, maybe that's better. This thing is about metta. What you're aiming for is liberation. Sangharakshita said on one occasion, metta is ecstatic. Love is ecstatic. All-embracing, loving kindness is ecstatic. Ecstasy, it comes from the Greek, doesn't it? Ekstasis, to stand outside of yourself, to enter into the lives of others very, very positively, very, very positively. Your energy pervading, if you like, everybody around you. That's an incredibly ecstatic, blissful, rapturous, liberating emotion. So energy, that becomes part of the taste of liberation. And finally, he talks about the development of wisdom, the development of knowing, as Sangharakshita said in this lecture on the taste of freedom. Freedom is not a blind thing. There's a great aphorism. Freedom is not a blind thing. So often the way the word freedom is used, it becomes a slogan. It sounds incredibly blind. It's almost like freedom at any cost to other people. But freedom is not a blind thing. Freedom comes out of knowledge as well as the chitta vimoksha, the liberation of the heart. There is the prajna vimoksha, the liberation through wisdom. Both need to be there. And the Buddha speaks very simply about the nature of wisdom in this teaching. It's the seeing of the rise and fall, the coming into being, the going out of being, seeing impermanence, in other words. Things arise, they pass away. They arise, they pass away. And he says when you see that very, very simple but very profound insight into the nature of things, then you are really and truly, irreversibly liberated, because you see, well, there's nothing to stop continuous liberation, continuous freedom. That really is then becoming the taste of freedom. But I want to end by just going back to the chitta vimoksha. There's another teaching that says that the liberation of the heart consists of the full development and the continuous unfoldment, the infinite unfoldment of metta, love, compassion, karuna, joy, sympathetic joy, joy in others' happiness, extended to everybody, and upeksha, or equanimity, which is when love, compassion and joy are felt, are practiced, are experienced in relation to everybody without exception. Then there's real evenness, real equanimity, real peace. You can also add to that set shraddha, faith and bhakti, devotion, which is when your love goes upwards, as it were, to an image, a vision of enlightenment itself. That's the chitta vimoksha. And it's a liberation because these emotions are unbounded. They're called apamanyas. They're boundless. They have no end. They have no end because there's never an end to living beings. So these emotions never have an end, and you are completely at one with that. There is no opposition, no resistance. You have this sense, if you like, of the transparency of your being in relation to all other being. And love is just flowing naturally. You're not making any effort to do it. It's just happening. Of course, there needs to be quite a bit of practice before you get to that point. The embodiment of love is the Dakini. We've heard that these symbols are multivalent. They have an endless set of meanings. You can't reduce them to one meaning. But the red colour of the Dakini is love. Intense Maitri, intense metta, the great love. Or it's even described as the Maharaga, the great passion. Usually raga is seen as something negative, but this is the Maharaga. This is the passion, the compassion for all life. That's her blood red colour, which she's ecstatic with, she's blushing with. And this Dakini is in a mandala, a sacred circle. She's in these two red triangles. These are the Dharmodaya, these red triangles, this sort of star shape. This is the origin of all reality, according to this tradition. And what's she doing? She's creating a Buddha field. She's creating a world of liberation. She's inviting us into a world of liberation. This is what Buddhas do. This is what the Dakinis of all the Buddhas do. The inspiration of all the Buddhas do. This is what all the Bodhisattvas do. They create worlds like this that we can come into, where we can experience directly. Well, not experience, I hate that word, experience. Where we can taste, where we can relish, where we can savour liberation. There we are.